You also not working. Hello? Oh, we're good. We're good.
Okay, go on your microphone. Go on your phone and see if it's working.
What have you moving working on this?
Yeah, here's the mic. You guys are both going to share.
Oh, okay. Do you think we can just hold it in the middle?
I think you're gonna say it.
Okay. Black Diamond's live. It's Black Diamond. Black Diamond.
Oh, okay, well, we're close.
Yay or nay?
We're just going to click those like.
Oh.
Go check on YouTube because I'm pretty sure it's still streaming. We got so close. This is like my season, my life season. Like everything's just a little interesting.
Yeah, I like your jumper.
That's so cute.
I know what I do now.
Oh, yeah, we're live.
Is it just me?
Say hi.
Do I need to move over?
No, I'm gonna, once we get it up, sorry, I feel like I'm in like a optical illusion because like,
You can see.
but this is us from the past. It's like a little bit.
Oh, that's
Anyways, I'm gonna move it once we get on.
An optical.
Whatever you call
Deja vu.
it. Yeah, like, what's
Do you get
Probably.
deja vu? Angsty Olivia Rodrigo.
No, it said. I'll just talk about it.
I'm just gonna hold my paper up like that. Though.
Okay, check now. I think it's working.
Okay, let's see.
You have to go to the Black Diamond.
Yeah, we're live.
Okay, good. Okay, go. Okay. Get the microphone. Great. I think you can see over there if you're on. Oh yeah, it's delayed.
Yeah,
Oh,
we're smiling.
that's scary.
Oh, there now it's.
It's like backwards. Hold on. Yeah, it's mirroring. Now I heard. Yay! I think it works. If you click over to the other tab too, I think you can see like if people join or comment. I don't think anyone's on it right now, except for you.
But it's stuck on.
It's great. Okay, hi.
Hi.
Hi, audience. We
Hi.
are in a season here at the Perfect Day Company of trying new things. And so we wanted to try out going live for our audience and just recording more in a long format video where we can chat all things flowers. So we're going to be going live every single Thursday talking about flowers, bartending, what other ones? Photography, etc. And so today Molly and I are here to chat all things flowers. If you don't know, we are the Perfect Day Company. We specialize in making sure every guest and every couple can enjoy every moment of their big day. And so we coordinate close to 100 weddings all over the four corners. Molly has been a coordinator with us for 3 seasons now. And we just this morning did our scheduling for August, September, and October. And we are getting ready for a really crazy, fun fall season. But we wanted to take today just to chat a little bit about flowers. We're going to start by reviewing some flower trends. I want to give the huge disclaimer. We're supposed to answer like if it was our wedding, because we're really adamant that you should enjoy and create a day that you're excited about and that fits your style and budget and all those things. So if you like love one of these things, this is not us saying you shouldn't do it. This is just us saying like what we would want to do. Right?
Yep.
That's good.
Perfect.
Okay, Stella's going to ask us the different floral trends. Stella's behind the camera, just so you guys know. Here, you tell us this floral trend.
Okay, we're yay or naying this. You ready? Greenery only.
If this is actually what I did at my wedding, all my tables had greenery only. If I were to get married tomorrow, I would probably not do greenery only.
Yeah,
but I did at my wedding.
Nay. For me, I have to have the pop of
I know
color.
the color is so good.
Colors
Okay,
and all
what's
that.
next?
Tossing the bouquet at the reception.
Okay, tossing the bouquet at the reception. I think this works really well if you do have a lot of single friends. I think it's really cute. It's a really cute photo moment. It's really special. People think it's fun, but only if you have enough people, because otherwise you have like a very awkward.
Yeah. At this point in my life, I would say nay.
Yeah, probably no, because I don't have any single friends
Me
left.
neither. Not
Yeah.
really.
Okay.
I have a few special ladies out there, but yeah, probably nay.
Perfect. Bold, bright colors over soft neutrals.
Bold, bright colors.
So
Every
yay or nay for bold, bright colors?
yeah.
Ooh, that's hard. I feel like
I'm a bright color person. Bright
Yeah.
colors, definitely.
Especially in spring.
Yeah, in spring, summer.
love
Nope,
the
I would still
pale
do bright
pinks,
colors even if it
though.
was in the winter.
I love the pale pinks and
The
the
pale
pale,
pinks.
like the peonies for sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
and even like the dinner plate dahlias that are pale. I don't know.
Yes.
That's a hard one for me. I'm middle.
Flower girls.
Flower girls, yes.
I think
Especially if
they're
I
cute.
someday have nieces. I
Yeah.
think it'd be really cute to have. It's special when people have them as like special part of the family. Like they're someone that means a lot to them.
Yeah, and if you know a little gal that has a great personality, I feel like it brings a lot to the ceremony.
Yes, for sure. And the pictures are so cute.
Flowers hanging from the ceiling.
Florals hanging from the ceiling. If there's something to hang them in, I would say yay.
I would say yay too.
Yeah. I don't know if it's really worth the money and effort if it's like you're having to build an installation. I've done that a few times and I feel like it wasn't worth the money that it required to build.
Yeah,
Like
if
build
all
a
the
chandelier.
hardware's there, and you
Yeah.
can make it. If your florist can do it
For
pretty
sure.
efficiently, it's like a great statement piece for sure.
Boutonnieres for every groomsman.
Yay! I like that look.
I would probably not. I wouldn't do boutonnieres.
You don't think so?
I just personally wouldn't pay for them.
I think sometimes they're not aware of them, and so they like hug and smash them anyways.
Like they don't know that they have
Yeah.
flowers pinned on their
Or like if they have to pin them themselves, it can be a disaster.
yeah, that's for sure.
So
too.
it's definitely the crap.
I have this later on too. I feel like boutonnieres get forgotten so often.
Oh,
Like we forget to pin them on and people forget to pin them on. And so then they're like spending $25, $40, $50, $60 a boutonniere
yeah.
and then they never get used.
So maybe nay. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Let's see, silk or wood flowers instead of fresh. I've seen these done really pretty, but I would never at my wedding.
I wouldn't either. I'm fresh all the way, fresh cut. Especially where we live and the people that we have here. You can get
There's
such
just so many
beautiful-
pretty local
Yeah.
flowers, and
Mhm.
we always joke like we'll put all the decorations on the table and sit around and go, it doesn't look quite right. I don't know. And we'll tweak everything, and then we put the flowers on. Like, oh, that's what was missing. It looks
Yeah.
so much better.
It ties them all together for sure.
Let's do florals on the wedding cake.
Yay. I think it's pretty.
Yes. If I got married tomorrow, my cake, this is a different episode, but my cake would be like one of those giant ones that takes the whole table.
Yeah.
So I would not put flowers on that.
Oh,
but,
yeah. Those are
but I
really
do like
cool.
flowers on the wedding cake.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's see. Non-traditional additions like fruit, feathers, or disco balls.
If it were my wedding, I would say nay. I
Yeah.
think just the flowers speak for themselves. I'm not saying that I haven't seen beautiful bouquets with things in them, but for me personally, I would say nay.
Yeah, I would say nay too for that one. Bud vases.
Yay, yay, yay. They're so pretty
so
and
pretty.
simple, but they make the right statement, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say
I'd have to decide based on the venue and the table shape, because I think one centerpiece can look really nice, especially on a round table. But if there's like a longer table and you're going for more of a farm style look, then I would probably do bud vases.
yeah, I feel like you can kind of make almost like a long bud
Make it
vase.
like kind of longer.
Pretty.
Wild versus refined arrangements.
Ooh, for me personally, I don't know. I like both looks.
I'm like, I feel like I'd have to like re-envision my whole mood for it if I were to get married.
I mean, I
tomorrow.
definitely think for the bridal bouquet, probably refined.
Yeah.
Just because I don't know why, but that's what I feel. And then wild on the table looks gorgeous too. So maybe a mix.
I probably go with wild. I think because when we're in Colorado and most your stuff is outside, it just feels so like part of the landscape, which is really fun. Arbor or no arbor? I would say no arbor. I think they block the mountains at so many of our pretty venues.
True. I agree.
Let's see. Last kind of trending question. What are your favorite color palettes right now?
I like the hot pinks and the oranges.
Yes.
And then maybe like a white in there.
We had one last year that was so pretty, and the bridesmaids were all mismatched orange and red. And so the bright colors were so fun. But I did one this past weekend with like blues and yellows. And it was so classic summer. And now I'm kind of obsessed with yellow bridesmaids dresses.
That was so pretty.
It was so pretty.
Such a pretty bride.
That is my favorite color palette. It's not just because it's the last one I did, but that was probably my favorite that we've done in a long time. We also have a coordinator getting married later this summer, and she's doing like some really like deep blues and pastels. And I'm excited about Lexi's.
I'm excited. I didn't know that.
Yeah. It matches Maggie's wedding that we did a few weeks ago.
Oh, yeah.
It's like all these like beautiful pastels and dark blues. And I think it photographed so pretty.
Yeah, that was
really pretty.
Cool.
Okay, we're going to transition and just chat a little bit about how to find the right flower fit. Before Molly runs you through like how to reach out to people and what you should include, I wanted to say that I will advocate all day for you to have a florist, because they are really good at what they do. They're experienced in design, but not only that, all the logistics that come with bringing flowers. That being said, we'll also never tell you not to DIY your wedding. I'm going to make all my floral friends mad by saying that. But if you want to DIY your flowers, so I think one of the things to start out with is how high on the priority list are your flowers, and go to different florists about page and read about them. So we have some amazing florists in our area. Several of them actually gave input on this live today. We've got Superette Weddings, who sources from tons of local flower farms. Sierra with Abundant Blooms gave us a huge response to some of these questions. And then we also have April's Garden and Della Floral here in town. And so they are all very unique. And so if you are able to go to their about page and just read what they believe about flowers, read through, and if they're saying, we love flowers and want it to be fun and whimsical and all these things, and you're like, I want someone to take my flowers more seriously than that, then you should probably go with a different florist. Or if you go on their website and it's saying, your florals are the biggest part of your wedding day, they're going to make a statement, all those things, and that's what you believe, you should go with them. But I think sometimes people are trying to make a luxury florist do budget things, and they're not willing to do that and compromise their brand, and vice versa. I find a lot of times like a more casual florist, they're trying to make it on the more luxury end. So I would definitely research your florist, look at the work that they've done, and really listen to how they talk about flowers.
True.
And then you kind of talk about what it looks like to reach out to your florist and what all the information that they need.
Yeah. So when you first kind of decide what your florals are going to be, what the priority is at your wedding, having an idea of like the color and what exactly you want on the tables, off the tables, on the aisle, on the arbor, and the colors specifically. When I did my wedding, was totally not knowledgeable about flowers, and I wanted a certain flower, but it wasn't the season for it. So kind of understanding that your florist will have all that information as long as you give them the specifics. And then as close as you can get to what specifically you're looking for, is the better it is for them to be able to quote it accurately, because you don't want to get to the end of it all and find out that they didn't have enough information to give you what you wanted. So like what pieces you want, the location, how far they're willing to deliver. A lot of our florists around here are so great because they will go pretty far out, I would
Mhm.
say, to a lot of
Yeah.
the venues in the mountains and stuff. Obviously, you have to give them your date to see if they're even available because, again, they're doing multiple weddings on a specific weekend, and they just want to make sure that they can give you the attention you deserve as well. Kind of fill them in if you have a coordinator, which you should, so that they can speak to the coordinator too about like venue specifics if they need to, something you might not know, that a coordinator could answer and help in that process as well. And then kind of timeline logistics, which is what a coordinator handles. So like drop off, pick up, delivery of vases prior to the date, things that your florist and your coordinator can work together on. So how far in advance? That's a good question.
So I was gonna say, I think our most frequently asked questions are probably how far in advance should I book my florist and what budget can I anticipate? So any florist is going to tell you the sooner the better. So all of our florists are very well established. They're booking well into 2027 at this point. And so you want to get on their calendar as soon as possible. We'll honestly tell you that about any vendor. That being said, do not be hesitant to reach out to florists last minute because a lot of them will have gaps in their schedule. And if they can accommodate you, they will. All of our florists here are so amazing and they're always trying to go above and beyond for their clients. And so if you do have something last minute, that you decided maybe you didn't want a florist and now you do, don't hesitate to reach out either way. There's a lot of them that will take last minute bookings. That being said, you have to do that with the mindset of just being really flexible with the inventory that they have available, the time of year, the busyness of the season, and all of those things. So especially as you go up in luxury, if you're more on the DIY side and you're going to source your flowers from a local farm, that can be a little bit more last minute, though they do run out sometimes. And then farther up you go up the luxury florist line, the further out you're going to want to book. And that goes really for all vendors. Luxury vendors usually book further out. So as far as budget, the way I explain this to my couples is telling florists your budget up front and explaining that you're totally willing to work within your budget. A lot of florists here in town will have floral minimums. Some of them are $2,500, some of them are closer to $5,000. And so that's just something to kind of keep in mind when you go into the conversation. Maybe ask them their minimum up front and see if it's even going to work for your budget. And then some of them will do one-off kind of arrangements. Bridal bouquets, just so you have a starting point in our area, can run on the budget end around $250 all the way up to about $750. So that's kind of a large range, but different florists charge different amounts for bridal bouquets specifically. And then obviously everything else will add up, but I typically tell couples to anticipate about that range per table as well. So even if you're doing simple bud bases, it's usually going to be on fairly pricey. Florals are expensive. It's like your number 3 expense, I think, after food and venue. It's a big expense. And for some people it's worth it, and some people it's not. Okay, Molly's just gonna run through just some pieces that you might consider for your event. So, and just kind of define some of these terms, because when you reach out to your florist, they're gonna want to know how many of each piece is so that they can quote your quote accurately. So just run through those.
Yeah, so sometimes, probably most times, the most important piece for the bride in particular would be her bridal bouquet. Like Amber said, that can run anywhere starting at $250 up to $750, and that's going to be your specific bouquet for the bride. And then they'll also ask you how many people you have in your wedding party that require bouquets, because that could be 1 or 10. We've had a bridal party of 10, and so they're happy to make those.
That's our neighbor. You can tell them that we're busy.
They're happy to make as many as you need, as long as they have an idea of how many you need. And then there's also the bouquet. If you're into tossing a bouquet during the dance party, you need to let them know about that, because they'll make something that's still beautiful, but probably less pricey, because as you know, it flies into the air and people try to grab it. So they don't want to make it too beautiful or too fancy. Boutonnieres can go on groomsmen, ring bearers, all of the dads, the grandpas, anyone you want. That's going to be the piece that they pin to their jacket or anything really. But again, we were talking about that, and you have to be careful and consider who is in your bridal party, because if they're just going to hug each other and smash them, you might not want to.
I think sometimes too, they look best on a suit jacket. So you can put them on a vest or on like a shirt, but that's something to consider too, is like what they're going to be wearing.
Yeah, and what does it look like in photos?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They also make really cool pocket ones right now.
Oh, I haven't
So
seen
that's
those.
they like go in your jacket pocket,
Oh,
and then they
cute.
like kind of look like a flower meadow growing out of the pocket of your jacket.
That would
So
kind
those
of
are
have
really
like some like pieces that hang down.
Yeah,
too.
it's
Like,
really
yeah.
cute.
Corsages are the things that you can wear to prom too. So those go on the wrist. Most of the time we'll see like grandmothers and mothers of the bride, mother of the groom wearing those. They're really pretty accent, and it just makes them feel special and a part of your day. The aisle, we've seen really beautiful aisle floral pieces. So whether that's running the whole aisle or just at the beginning and end, it can be like a bouquet, or we've seen like shepherd hooks holding vases. And then the arc or the arbor at the end. We've seen some really pretty floral installations from a lot of the local florists around here. Again, very unique based on the vision of the couple, but they can definitely help you visualize or let you know what they can put in those to make them pop for your day.
And really creative. People have gotten really creative lately, but you can do like one arbor piece or two, or you can do the whole arbor or two sides. People are doing these round arrangements lately.
I know, so pretty. Bless you. And then the sweetheart head table arrangement, typically, like for our weddings, I would say for the most part, that kind of matches the aesthetic of the table decor. Maybe a little bit more extra because it is where the couple sits, but those pieces will oftentimes put like, even display the bridal bouquets there too, because they're so pretty. You don't want them to just disappear after the ceremony. And then the guest table centerpieces, that's again what Amber was talking about, considering the size of your table. If it's round, if it's a farm table and you want to have a long spread down the center, that's what that would entail. Oh yeah, and then so like little accent pieces too. A lot of times, like if our couples get buckets, they'll have a lot of flowers left over, and just the difference it makes on adding them to the bar space or the front desk if you have a front desk at your venue, or just any of like the little off tables, the little coffee tables. I just think it adds a nice touch. If you want florals on your cake, make sure to communicate that between both your baker and your florist, just so they know how to place them, or if they want assistant placing them, the florist can be there to do that. Signage and lounge area flowers. We've had a wedding where they have a back. What are those signs called? The acrylic signs.
Just like a welcome sign, or like a seating chart.
Their name, like the one that lights up.
Neon signs.
Yeah, the neon signs.
Where
they've done like a floral arrangement around the copper frame, and it's just really pretty. It just adds extra. So
and something for like people to take pictures in front of.
Yeah, exactly. So, and then hanging floral installations are definitely, if that's something you're into, definitely something you should talk about with your florist early. Make sure the venue has the proper hanging equipment and all of that. But they can be really cool statement pieces as well, if that's important to you.
Yeah, that's all great. So just when you're reaching out to your florist initially, you don't have to know exactly, but you just want to have a list put together of the pieces that you might want. And you're going to reach out to them so that they can kind of price it out. I always tell my couples, if you can go ahead and tell them all the pieces you think you might need, that's really helpful. And then we can always take some off as we go on. If you decide you actually don't need a piece for the bar, or you don't need extra boutonnieres or something like that. I want to transition to talking about DIYing your flowers. I want to give first a disclaimer that we always say, if you can afford a florist, I think that's the better route to go. They really are experts in their trade and worth it. But also we work with a lot of couples that is just not in their budget. So we really want to help curate events that are a good fit for our individual couples. We don't require budget minimums for our couples. I didn't have like the biggest wedding budget of all time. And so we just want to make sure that weddings are accessible. And so I want to like paint a clear picture that not everyone has to have these beautiful floral installations or these like gorgeous hand designed bridal bouquets. If doing your own flowers is something you want to do, you can absolutely do that. So I wanted to I don't think that's said very often in the wedding world, that you can do your own flowers.
Yes.
You can do that. I feel like my florist friends are going to watch this and be like, why'd you say that? How could you ever say that? So one of the things I did want to say, in our area, we have some amazing local flower farms, and these are just a few of them. But Tanya from Superette Weddings is really, really good at sourcing flowers locally. And so these are places that you can actually, most of the florists in town source locally. So you can actually ask your florist to source from local farms, but also you can order directly from the farm. So one of them is Calabacita Senorita Florist and Farm. They're over in Bloomfield, New Mexico. If you don't follow her on Instagram, you should, because she is the cutest Instagram.
I love her.
She just has like the cutest Instagram ever. Long Table Durango does bucket pickups. Rainbow Springs Flower Farm, I've worked with her forever. And then Mountain Bell Flower Farm is local to Hermosa Valley, and they are probably one of the bigger flower providers in our area. And so all of these farms are really great working with you if they can find local blooms in your color palette or in your certain style for your time of year. They will, and the buckets are really reasonably priced. So buckets in our area typically run from about $120 to about $200 a bucket, and that's just for like your typical standard size, 5 gallon. I was like, what is 5 gallon buckets? A few things to consider when you're doing your own florals. One is the cost. I think people think, oh, I'm going to do my own flowers and it's not going to cost that much. But typically for like a standard dining room in our area, we're doing close to like 7 to 8 buckets per. So if you're paying $200 a bucket, you're already at $1,600. So that's just something to kind of keep in mind, is that it is a great way to save money, but it's not free. Flowers are expensive.
They're expensive.
Yeah. I'm going to let you go down. We're going to alternate bullet points.
Timing. The time it takes to make flower arrangements is not short. If we're helping assist on making like bed vases and stuff, I mean, it takes us, I don't know, an hour, a couple hours to do our dining room. So and that's with like several people. So if it's just you definitely want to, find some people, bridesmaids, moms, to help you put them together, and consider that it's going to take more than just a quick
more time than you think. Not only the actual arranging of them, but actually the prepping of flowers, the ordering of them, picking them up. So there's just a lot to consider doing the week of your wedding. So you're gonna have to go get the flowers, you're gonna have to keep them cold. And then I don't think people realize the amount of prep work that goes into like taking a flower that came off a plant, bringing it to the farm takes it off, puts it in a bucket. And then when you get it, you have to strip all the leaves off the bottom, you have to trim the bottoms, you have to like trim dead petals. Some of flowers are handled completely different than other flowers. And so just doing your research, but also knowing that that's going to take a lot more time than you think. Also the timing on site during an event. So it takes quite a bit of time to set those things up, to put them out, to make sure they're refrigerated and cold until we can set them out. These are things that you can work with your coordinator on. If you are DIYing your flowers, we'll be able to like talk you through a lot of these logistics. But it is something you're sacrificing when you're not hiring a florist, is having to think of all these things that when you pay a florist, you're not just paying for the flowers, you're paying for all these things as well. And their experience.
They're so experienced.
Like,
I mean, yes, we do our best to make everything look great for you, and you do your best too. But at the end of the day, when they come in and design, they have like a very specific design in mind when they're placing florals.
The colors are right, and the colors match, and the textures are consistent.
But if based on your budget, you can make things look really nice. Mm-hmm. So never to discourage, again, the DIYing thing, mm-hmm. but don't expect a florist's experience if you're asking your coordinator to help assist with that, or if you're doing it yourself.
Absolutely.
It's probably not going to look the exact same.
One of the things, especially in our area, is the transportation of flowers. I think we don't actually, some of our venues, you can drive right up and you take them right up the stairs and it's not a big deal. But a lot of the venues in our area, you're like off-roading to get there.
Or up a mountain.
Yes. I don't think people actually consider the fact that like, okay, how are we going to get their florals out of a refrigerator, keep them pretty and looking good for 8 hours, and then get them up a mountain and set out in the burning hot sun. So just something to consider, especially if you're with your ceremony flowers, if they're going to be sitting out all day.
Or if it's going to rain.
Or if it's going to rain. I know, all of those things. Yeah. And so just something to kind of consider is the transportation. And then I'll let you talk about setup and clean up.
Yeah. So setup, again, can take a while depending on what you're looking for. And, if you're having someone hang something on an arbor, that takes time, and it has to be set at a certain time because it can't sit in the sun for so long. So definitely something to consider. And then who's going to clean up all the flowers? What's going to happen to all of the flowers? If you rent your bud vases, you need to have something to put your flowers in if you want to keep them, or if you're going to have them pressed or preserved in any way. Again, have somewhere to put them. You have to keep them cool to preserve the flowers. Those are all things to consider. You know, we love flowers. So if you're not going to keep them, many of your vendors might want to take them home and enjoy them, or just things to consider as you plan your florals.
Yes. And then like I said, I just want to keep reiterating, when you're paying a florist, you're not just paying for flowers. So yes, you're paying for the experience, but you're also paying for a lot of tools. And so florists have all the shears and the floral wire and the floral foam and the vases. And sometimes they use like fertilizer to pep up the flowers. There's all kinds of stuff. I don't even know because I'm not a florist. Sugar. It's like all kinds of stuff. I saw a florist once like polish certain kinds of flowers so that they look pretty, and like tweak them and trim them and all kinds of stuff. So just keeping in mind that like when you do your flowers, you're also going to need to make sure you have all of the tools and supplies to make that happen. And the last thing I just wanted to hit on is that when you are DIYing your flowers, you want to really take into consideration what's in season during your time of year. I think sometimes we all make Pinterest mood boards and then we go and we're like, oh yeah, I need roses for my mood board, but roses aren't in season. That's kind of a bad example because most of our
Peonies is a good one.
Peonies is a good example. Hydrangeas,
Dahlias.
Sunflowers.
Dahlias are late summer.
Yeah, dahlias and sunflowers are late and the other ones are early. I had a couple ask me for Russian sage. They really, really wanted Russian sage, but it was in June. I was like, Russian sage just doesn't grow that time of year. And so especially with the local seasonality of everything, just making sure that's important. We're just going to hit on some flower mistakes real quick and then we'll wrap up.
Sounds good. What are some flower mistakes? Let's see.
I wrote that this might seem weird to the outside world, but a lot of florists will have contract clauses that specify that you can't have other florists or DIY your flowers at the wedding. And that's just because the florists are having to protect their reputation. So when someone arrives on site at a wedding and they see these, ceremony centerpieces that maybe you arranged or a different florist arranged, but it gets attributed to the florist whose name's on the project, that can jeopardize their reputation. And so a lot of florists, you'll see when you review their contract that they'll have a clause that you cannot have like another florist or DIY flowers at your wedding. So when you see that, just don't freak out. That's not uncommon. They're just wanting to protect like their brand image.
Totally. And then another thing is sometimes couples or family members will encourage like making your own bouquets, but if that's not something that your brain has space for, you shouldn't feel pressure to do that. Also, like florists will wrap their flowers very specifically and make them look very nice for like portraits. They're totally thinking ahead to those things, like your photography, what it's going to look like in photos. So if you don't have it in you to make your own bouquets, then it's definitely, I think florists are the way to go, just because they are experienced. They know what you want and they can
especially on your wedding day. Like if you don't have a way to keep your flowers closed, I've seen a lot of couples say, oh yeah, we're going to DIY my bouquet. And then it gets to 10 a.m. on the wedding day and they're like, I don't have time to do this. I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
So that can be really stressful.
Yeah. And storing it, all the things.
For sure. I think a huge mistake is spending money on pieces that don't necessarily matter, whether it's like an aisle piece that people are going to walk by really quickly, or boutonnieres that never get put on, or just things that are like very quick. So I would take some time to think about what floral pieces are people going to spend the most time with. Totally. So obviously your bridal bouquet, I would say your centerpieces, because people are sitting there looking at your flowers the whole time. Your arbor pieces are going to be in the most pictures.
Yeah.
But I think sometimes I've seen people spend like a ton of money on a bar arrangement or smaller arrangements for the restrooms or things like that, that I think that money probably could have been rolled into one of the more highly photographed pieces.
Totally.
If there's ever a staircase or an entrance moment, that's a great spot to do a lot of flowers.
And then a lot of times people will have flower girls, but they'll forget to order the petals.
Yeah.
And then they end up having to pull petals from
we like pull off flowers.
So if you are DIYing, I would just recommend getting, a bouquet of roses, or have something that you can easily depetal. But if you are ordering florals, then make sure to remember those with your florist.
Yep. And then probably the last thing I would say about flower mistakes is just not repurposing them. So just wanting to talk through like ways you can take your ceremony pieces and use them at your reception as well, or put your bridal bouquets. I don't like to put bridesmaids bouquets on tables. They're usually too tall and they don't look right, but you can use those around cocktail hour and different places so that your florals aren't just like one and done. You know?
Yeah, exactly. And if you're preserving them, you want to keep them in water.
Yeah.
So.
Well, those are all our flower tips and
Yeah.
tricks. Thanks for going live with us for the very first time ever. We'll be back next week and we'll
What is
critique all of our, I don't know. Do you know what next week is? Stella's going to look it up.
Surprise.
It's not bartending. I know that. It's not baking. It's not photography.
It'll be fun though.
It's going to be fun though. I think it's rose. But we will be back next week to try to chat more, and we'll get hopefully a little bit better with our camera and our audio and all the things every single week. But this is new for us, and it's really fun. So let us know what you think. Definitely comment. We're gonna tag in the description all of the different florists that we work with. Definitely go follow them, interact with their stuff. They are so talented, and all.